First of all, of course, congratulations on your receiving the 2015 award last night. How did that make you feel?
Thank you. I'm flabbergasted. I'm greatly honored, and I've been doing this since 1964, and it's the highlight of my career. It's just unbelievable to be in company with some legends like I am now.
You're the sixth. You're a founding co-founder or an original founder of the MTA.
Yes.
And you're the sixth president.
The sixth president of the MTA, 1978-79.
And I believe you've organized some of these symposiums in the past. You've been
I was involved in the first one.
Right.
The very first one, which is in Williamstown, Massachusetts, in 1976.
So you've seen a lot of change. So how do you feel when you look back over all the symposiums you've been to, and you look at this one here today? You're being honored. How does the growth of the organization and all, how does it make you feel?
Staggering.
Yeah.
It's staggering. It's something that I don't think anybody could have envisioned back in the early days when it was an all-volunteer organization with less than 100 members. The first seminar was all volunteer, and I just can't believe that it's grown to something like this, and it's still growing.
Right.
It's one of the best uptrends I have seen in my life.
Well said, well said. Overbought, but it's a good overbought.
I don't think it's overbought. Yeah. No, I don't think it's overbought. I think it's a slow, steady, very progressive, very evolving, naturally evolving, and it's come a long way. And even compared to what it was 10 years ago, I think the MTA has taken giant strides.
I would agree with that. Let's talk a little bit about technical analysis. So, you've been doing this a long time. It's wonderful to have the success you've had, but oftentimes we learn most from the mistakes we've made. So what are some of the mistakes you've made that have been most instructive to you and made you who you are today?
How long do we have? This might take quite a while.
We have time.
I think the biggest mistake is Owen Tracy just said in a presentation I just went to, don't make the mistake of trying to tell the market what to do. Listen to the market. The market is its own message.
Yeah.
The market is telling you. You have to interpret it. You can't tell it what you want it to do. You can't tell it what you think you want it to do. It's going to do whatever it does. The market can do anything.
That's exactly right.
It can do anything. And you have to respect what the market is smarter than anybody in it. Richard Russell, I think it was Richard Russell, once said when the New York Stock Exchange was the center of everything and located at Broad and Wall, Richard Russell once said, there is more human intelligence focused on the corner of Broad and Wall than any other single spot on the planet.
Right.
And what you're doing is when you're looking at the market, you're looking at the sum of that human intelligence. And that is that technicians, what we're looking at and measuring, which I think is a very admirable and professional thing to do, measuring the sum of human intelligence. We're measuring what Wellington is doing, we're measuring what Fidelity is doing, but we're measuring what countries are doing, what corporations are doing, what the man on the street is doing. It all blends together and results in that one price point on, let's say, the Standard & Poor's 500. And you may not like where it is, but that's exactly where it is, and that's what the market is telling you.
Yeah, what is today is more important than what you think ought to be, right?
Right.
So that actually leads me to another question. So in the years, say the last 20 years, technology and what technology has done to our craft has been phenomenal. I mean, there's so many wonderful things we can do that we no longer have to do by hand. But on the other hand, do you think that there's a trade-off with that where some of the art is being lost? Like if I'm going to sit and actually teach a new student how to do technical analysis, I'm not so sure I'm going to sit down and have them hand draw a point and figure chart like I used to do when I first started. And I learned a lot doing that. So yes. Is there some of that art form that's lost because of that, you think?
I think rather than flipping through 500 component charts in the S&P 500, I think you learn more, especially at the beginning, by taking, let's say, 10 representative stocks and doing a point and figure chart and doing a bar chart and actually plotting it every day, because then you have to look at it.
Right.
You don't have to just skim by it and then you're going to miss something. You actually have to look at it. And by taking the time to look at it, you learn more about what to look for. You're learning more about breakouts that work, about breakouts that fail, because you're actually plotting it day by day.
Right.
On a point and figure chart, if you want to use price objectives, you can put down price objectives and see whether they work or see whether they don't. You can't really do that on a computer terminal.
Right.
And so I think actually keeping charts, if I were teaching technical analysis, I would encourage people to get some paper and keep 5 or 10 charts
Yeah, interesting.
up every day,
Yeah.
and then tell and make notes what you think,
Right.
what you think, and then what the market does, and you learn from that.
Right.
And you can't do that by skimming through on a computer.
You miss a lot.
Yeah.
miss
So
a
the
lot.
computer can draw 500 charts. We couldn't.
Right.
But you can't necessarily get the information from the 500 charts unless you look at it.
Right. Look and touch. Yeah.
Look and touch.
Right.
Excellent.
You've often made the distinction between owning a company and owning a stock, and how technical analysis allows you to bridge that gap, and how. So can you expound on that a little bit?
Yes, the expounding on that is that when I worked at Putnam back in the 1970s, all the analysts came out of the Harvard Business School. And they were like peas in a pod. They all learned what they should learn at the Harvard Business School. But Harvard Business School didn't teach them technical analysis. So I perceived one of my job functions was to teach the analysts what I call the investment facts of life, which is a stock is not the same as a company. If you get the earnings, the analysts are supposed to do earnings forecasts. If you get the earnings forecast down to the penny, quarter by quarter, that doesn't tell you whether the stock is going to go up or down.
Right.
And you're buying the stock, not the earnings forecast. They don't have ETFs for earnings forecasts. They don't have ETFs for earnings. You are buying the stock.
Yeah, that's well said.
And so, and technical analysis is what you use to analyze stocks. So if you're involved in the stock market or in stocks, you darn well better have technical analysis. It's not an elective course. It's an essential requirement.
Right.
Absolutely, because you don't. My favorite chart, which I've reprinted in my book, is McDonald's in the 1970s. McDonald's was one of the classic growth stocks in the Nifty 50 area of the early 70s. McDonald's from 1973 to 1980, the earnings of the McDonald's Corporation per share earnings grew at a compound growth rate of 25% annually for 7 years. If you plotted the earnings growth on a chart that grew at a straight line, they never missed a quarter. It was as consistent as could be. That growth rate was as consistent as could be. So if you forecast earnings to be up 25%, quarter by quarter for 7 years, you were right.
Yeah.
Okay. Only problem was the stock went down. The stock went in 1973, sold at 75 times trailing earnings. In 1980, it sold at 7.5 times trailing earnings.
Wow.
If I had said in 1973 that McDonald's was going to go down, even though the earnings were going to go up, they went up 400% over those 7 years.
You'd say buy the stock.
They would have thought I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But the company was fantastic. The
Interesting
stock
distinction.
was a loser.
It reminds me, I think Amazon, it did a similar thing after 2000. I think their sales went up 90% and the stock went down 90% in the same window of time.
Yeah.
Very important distinction between the company and the stock, right?
Right, and that's what fundamental analysts and portfolio managers have to learn.
Right.
They're buying stocks.
Not the company.
They're not buying companies.
Right.
They're two different things.
Right.
And the only way to analyze a stock is through technical analysis.
Well said. So this business is a very difficult business psychologically. I mean, it's probably 90% psychology and 10% analysis, and a little bit of luck, I guess we can throw in there. So in all of that, how has a you're renowned for your sense of humor and always having a light sense of humor no matter what's happening in the markets. How has that helped you navigate some of the big cycles we've seen and just always keep light?
The sense of humor really has helped me make points without doing a lot of typing on a keyboard. Okay, so that one of the classic ones was while I was at Putnam, the market started to correct. It was a well-advertised correction. The market would come down, the portfolio managers would come in my office every day and say, the market's come down, is it time to buy? And I said, not yet. Market would come down a little more, their stock looked better fundamentally, not better technically. Is it time to buy yet? No.
Yeah.
And finally, when they came in to get them off my backs, I said, when the time comes to buy, you won't want to. Which is just a way of saying the best buys are usually not obvious at all. And the best buys, I have found, the best buys are the ones that when you buy, you are looking in the mirror saying, am I crazy to be doing this?
Right.
The worst buys are when you look in the mirror and say, oh, this is so great, this is so obvious.
Yeah.
So you're right, 90% psychology.
Exactly.
So when the time comes to buy, you won't want to. Another one is a simple rule, no stock in an uptrend has ever gone bankrupt, which is a simple way of saying that if there is trouble going on with a company, it will show up in the stock price.
Yeah.
You know, it will go into some sort of downtrend. Obviously, not every stock in a downtrend is going to go bankrupt.
Exactly. Yeah.
But every stock that has gone bankrupt has been in a downtrend.
Yeah. Well said. So you've over the years you've written a few books, and you've written one more recently. What got you to write a new book, and what distinguishes it from the other ones?
Well, the writing the new book, I have been doing what I call a crusade, an unsuccessful crusade to get people make people realize that technical analysis is essential.
Right.
You know, it's not a luxury; it's an essential. It's a basic essential. In every missionary work, the problem is getting people to listen or getting people to write.
I think you said it's not an elective; it's a requirement.
It's a requirement.
Yeah.
An absolute requirement. And I was invited in January of 2013 to give a talk in the Orlando, Florida MTA chapter, and they invited the Orlando CFAs to be there. So I decided, well, I will do my facts of life thing. So the title of my talk was Technical Analysis for CFAs, explaining why they needed it, even though they're CFAs, because they are working with stocks and not, and so forth. And then I suddenly realized that a friend of mine had been urging me to write a book on technical analysis for financial advisors, because she kept saying they need to know that they need technical analysis. Okay? So I suddenly said to myself, this is the same talk I've been giving. I started with technical analysis for Putnam analysts. Now I did one on technical analysis for CFAs.
Right.
All I have to do is change it to technical analysis for financial advisors, and I have the book, which I did. And then I realized that if I just delete financial advisors and make investors, I have it for everybody.
Right.
So it's a missionary work that, unfortunately, like all missionary works, is only useful when the people who don't think they need to read it. And getting them to read it is the tough part.
Yeah, you would think that like the 08, 09 period would have been their sort of quote unquote come to Jesus moment where it made them appreciate technicals more
but
so.
Now the last 6 years it's been bull market. We don't need this stuff. We don't need this stuff. Every pullback is a buying opportunity. Right. And I think this is probably the MTA's biggest challenge going forward. Yeah. They have responded to the challenge very successfully on making technical analysis professional. It used to be that they were a bunch of chartists. When I first worked for Bob Farrell at Merrill Lynch in 1964, I went into his thing. That while I was there, just before I went in there, Barron's had an ad with a gentleman sitting with an adding machine and tape coming out and drawing tools on his desk. And the title of the ad was "Come on, Charlie, put those charts away." It was an absolute classic, and I always teased Bob that after that ad came out, he changed his name from Charlie Farrell to Bob Farrell.
Yeah.
Bob Farrell being the head technician and highly respected technician at Merrill Lynch for many decades, and whom I worked for. But that's what technical analysis was perceived at back in the beginning, at the founding of the MTA. It was a bunch of crackpots sitting around with graph paper and adding and calculators. And the MTA has brought that level up exponentially.
You can see that today, for sure, yeah.
Okay, now the problem is to get people to accept that they need it, and that's the challenge going forward.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Anything you want to leave us with
Yes,
at the
it's a lot
symposium?
of work, and I pass the torch with failing hands to you, the younger generation. Good luck. Carry it. That's your challenge.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much, Walter.
Thank you very much.